What's good, friends? Welcome into Fantasy Focus, presented by Little Caesars, alongside Mike Clay in a NASCAR shirt and Field still wearing half his pajamas from last night. My name is Daniel Dopp. We're here to have a fun show. Does it kind of look like the top to a bottom, like a pajama set?
Like a little bit.
Can I feel that?
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
Terry
that's
cloth.
cozy.
Do you guys wear pajamas? Like pajama sets?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Do you have any, though? I would love to have like a pajama set to be an adult.
I think I have one Christmas-themed pajama set that I got a long time ago that just like hangs around to be used once around Christmas time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm a man of pop culture, a man of the people. I was told today we wear orange. Taylor Swift's new album.
Oh, look at you,
orange
Mike.
is the color, so I'm just following the lead. And by that, what I actually mean is Little Caesars is orange. So that's why I'm wearing orange.
That's right.
Little Caesars. That's what I meant to say.
Yes.
But also, shout out Taylor Swift, Why I'm Missing's own, or Redding's own, from my old neck of the woods. So
What's the name of the new record, Mike?
Life of a Showgirl.
Life of a Showgirl.
Mike and I got here a little before
showman,
Daniel this morning, and we were talking about like
music.
Mike was like, Daniel has no idea who Taylor Swift is.
Yeah.
I was like, he probably thinks Taylor is DeAndre's sister.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which she could be.
Mate,
Who knows?
She's
have
too
no
mainstream
idea.
for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a little too mainstream. Little too mainstream. No big deal. We got a very fun show planned for you guys today. We got a Thursday Night Football recap, as well as part 2 of our Week 5 preview. We're also diving into some of our starts of the week. And if we have time, we'll get to a mailbag. We'll see how that goes. But before we get into all this, I want to set the table on some things that we're going to need from our YouTube audience today, because we're going to need some participation from those of you in the YouTube chat.
Right.
As a reminder, Field lost starts of the week last week, which means this week the punishment was chat gets to pick his starts. So here's how this is going to work. Throughout the show, I'm going to let you guys know that a new poll is open. Okay. We're going to start with the quarterbacks, then we'll go through each other position. We're going to have 4 players for you to choose from. One of those 4 is actually a quarterback or running back or wide receiver or tight end that Field wants to start.
Yep.
You sent over a list of 4 people that you would love to be able to start. But you guys in chat get to decide, do you want to pick the one that maybe you think Field wants to start to help him get a win, or are you trying to troll him and you want to give him another player to hopefully lose?
Are there some egregious ones in there?
Not like egregious. They're all close enough. But
I mean, last night you were forced you had no choice but to start Mac Jones against me, and that went great.
That went so well.
We have a Dynasty Superflex League.
Don't be afraid to get cute with it,
My team is Lamar, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, and
Mac Jones.
I tell you, I got to be honest with you. After last night, I was thinking to myself, like, Mac deserves to be starting somewhere next year. So maybe that Mac Jones piece could become pretty valuable.
Teams are going to look at him like the next Baker Mayfield.
Next year. He should be starting next week for the Cincinnati Bengals, guys.
That's true.
Come on.
He signed a 2-year deal with San Francisco. And so you can vote on starts of the week throughout the week. I wish you guys had voted for Mac Jones. We'll, of course, dive into that game because we got this one wrong, gentlemen. This, to me, is why sports are so cool, is that I don't know how many games I felt more confident in going into it than last night, thinking like, the Rams are going to take care of business against the 49ers. They're just so banged up. No, obviously, Brock Purdy, no Juwan Jennings, no Ricky Pearsall, no Nick Bosa. It was just right for the Rams to come out there and take care of business. And as I'm sitting there watching that game last night, man, Mac Jones was exceptional. He was so good.
Dude was cool as the other side of the pillow.
22.2 fantasy points. But gosh, how awesome is Kyle Shanahan, too?
Yeah, and that's what I said. That's what I said in the offseason when I was worried about the Niners because their roster didn't look that great. Yeah. And what I said yesterday, too, all day, it was like, it seems like an easy Rams win, but I don't like being in the business of doubting Kyle Shanahan. But on the other hand, I don't like being in the business of doubting Sean McVay. And what a letdown for this team. This is a good team at home against this beat-up Niners team. They're a better, I think objectively speaking, the Rams have a better team.
I would agree.
And they lost this game. I can't believe they lost it.
Well, let's talk about the things that they could have done differently to avoid losing that game. They missed an extra point with around 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Fix your field goal game. They cannot block. They cannot block on
48-yard field goal as well earlier on in the game from Josh Carty. They also fumbled on like the 1-inch line. Kyron Williams fumbled.
Yeah, they win the game if he gets in there.
But here's so a lot of things that coulda, shoulda, woulda, and they get stuffed on 4th and 1 in overtime. That was the final play of the game. But for fantasy purposes, the one thing I'll say about the Rams is that the Rams just do exactly what we need them to do, right?
Yeah.
They are just steady Eddie. Like Puka Nacua sort of started slow last night. 3 catches for 24 yards in the first half, and then he ends up with 10 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown, and you're like, oh yeah, he's the best player in the entire game.
Yeah, he's breaking the mold. We talked about this on EBL last night. His catch prop is 8.5. That we've only, since the start of 2023, including the playoffs, that's only the 4th time that someone's had a catch prop that high. No way. And they almost always go under. The only one that went over before Nacua did last night was CeeDee Lamb, and that was that Packers playoff game where it was like 48-32. Yeah. That's what it took for Lamb to get over that number. And Nacua just another day at the office.
Wouldn't it felt like Nacua would have been able to get there because the game script, I would have thought that the Rams would get up so much, right? You might not even get to 8.5.
Yeah, so I think that like for the Rams, we can leave it be here. Like the guys largely did what you expect them to do last night. Kyren Williams did have that key fumble, but 31.1 fantasy points with his first career multi-touchdown game as a receiver.
Yeah, we've talked about that. It's rare to catch a single receiving touchdown, let alone 2. He only has a handful of those in his career. But he played 90% of the snaps. Some of that was Blake Corum with that bad fumble early in the game. He also had a drop. So Kyren cemented himself as, what we thought.
You willed it into existence, Daniel.
I unfortunately, just getting everything back to Kyren Williams. Yeah. I saw just on that play really quickly with Blake Corum, that fumble, I saw a really funny tweet. I don't know if it's actually funny, but that fumble counts as a rushing play for Matthew Stafford. And because of where that took place, it actually increased his rushing total for the season because it counts as a 0-yard rush that is a fumble. And because he had negative yards coming in, he went from like negative 0.25 yards per carry to negative 0.2 yards per carry or something like that. So
good to get some.
I'm the stat guy in the show. Everyone knows that I love nerdy stats, and I get a kick out of them.
Speaking of stats, Kyren Williams, really quick, just a little respect for him. 16+ touches and 69+ yards in all 5 games so far this season. Had a career high in catches with 8 and receiving yards last night as well, on top of the 2 touchdowns. He has 4 touchdowns in 5 games, and check this out. Going back to the beginning of 2 seasons ago, his last 33 games, he has 35 touchdowns. 35 touchdowns in 33 games. He continues to just get the job done. One of the highest floors in fantasy.
He has money along the same lines. We should probably pay respects to Christian McCaffrey because he was unbelievable. Again, last night, if Christian McCaffrey had 0 carries for 0 yards, he still would have finished the night with 22.2 fantasy points.
That's insane.
He has held up remarkable.
That's awesome from a fantasy perspective. The problem is that rushing output has been horrific. He's averaging 3.1 yards per carry this season.
Oh, he's in Saquon Barkley territory. How bad he's been.
I know. What is with these guys?
The Niners have this very interesting split where they're amongst, if not the best pass block win rate team in the NFL right now, but very near the bottom in terms of run block win rate. So it's fine because Christian McCaffrey is catching like the second most passes in the NFL right now. But 27.9 fantasy points for CMC. He has been just remarkable. As long as he holds up, he's going to end up being one of the 3 to 5 most valuable players in all of fantasy. Beyond that, it got crazy for the 49ers.
Wait, can I give you one more quick nugget on CMC?
Yeah,
39 catches now in 5 games. He's on pace for 132.6. If he gets a 132, that would be 7th most all time. The record is 149. So he could literally break the receptions record this year. It's possible.
And
at the pace he's at.
Yeah, he also, of course, would be shattering a record for running backs. I believe he actually already holds that. Christian McCaffrey does, or he's close. There was one year where Larry Centers had like 110 catches as a sort of fullback, but also kind of a running back as well. But beyond CMC, everything last night was goofy for the 49ers. So I wanted to come in and ask, is there anything that is potentially sticky as we look ahead to week number 6?
I wouldn't say sticky. I mean, 11 targets for both Kendrick Bourne and Jake Tonjes, but we expect 10 days of rest to have some healthier other players for the 49ers. George Kittle eligible to return. Next game, we don't know for sure if he will. Even then, I think Tonjes, he had the 11 targets, but he hasn't been at that level in the other games.
Cool story.
Probably not a tight end one. And Kendrick Bourne, same thing. The only way we consider him is, I think, if both Jennings and Pearsall are out for their next game. So, no, I'm not going to race to waivers to pick up Kendrick Bourne. I mean, he's essentially their 4th receiver. So the only way I consider picking him up next week is if it's not looking good for the other receivers.
Yep. So let's keep an eye on both Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. And of course, Brock Purdy for week 6. They play the Bucs, as Mike just mentioned. Kendrick Bourne, Mac Jones. It was the 2020 Patriots flashback last night.
I mentioned
Remember, Bourne was good, was good, obviously, in 2020 for the Patriots. And Mac Jones, just really cool story. 33 for 49, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, 22.18 fantasy points. It almost looked like Mac Jones was going to be out of the game Was that
couple
right
times
before halftime?
A handful times.
He had sort of a knee brace issue, and it sounds like he got cramps at the same time that his knee brace got uncomfortable. But he's been awesome. He's been rock solid for this 49ers team. A great story and a huge win. The Niners are now 4-1, at least until Sunday afternoon, atop the NFC West, and they could emerge from Week 5 atop the NFC West alone if the Bucs beat the Seahawks.
I just don't understand how this team is 4-1 with all the injuries that they've had. Like, good for them to be able to elevate. Like, the idea that you've been dealing with all this and you're still here, set your actual NFL team up so well right now.
They have an amazing head coach.
Yes,
I think
they do.
They also have an outstanding defensive coordinator. I know that Robert Saleh did not have a lot of success with the Jets as a head coach, but man, it feels like he is just fit to be that 49ers DC.
One of those things is not like the other, I think, the 49ers and the Jets.
But I tell you, they came into the season with some defensive question marks.
Major.
They lost their best, well, Fred Warner's also
probably their
incredibly
best.
awesome.
Yeah,
but Fred Warner and Nick Bosa are the two best players on that defense, and one of those two was out for the entire season. How fun is Fred Warner to watch, by the way?
Yeah, he's awesome.
So
Just an
great.
aside,
Just a
but
difference maker.
yeah, I mean, one of the great players that we have seen over the last 9 years. He's been in the NFL, and an amazing play on that 4th-and-1 stop in overtime to end the game.
When you guys watch, are you watching the actual broadcast? Do you watch it, Mike? Do you watch it with all the analytics on the screen when you do?
No, I mean, I'm keeping an eye on snap counts and all that sort of stuff in the background on my computer. Or my
You're not
phone,
even
but
watching the game. You're just watching your computer.
No,
Or who's watching?
I
the
do
game.
both.
I don't
do
watch
both,
the
sir.
game. Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. All right. Let's
watch-
dive into our anything else you want us to talk about it before we
That's
move
good.
on from our
Let's get into the important stuff.
Let's do it.
Week 5 preview, part 2. Head on back to yesterday's show if you want to hear the first part of our preview heading into Week 5. Mike,
Can I ask a question or no?
I will, of course, allow it, Field. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for granting me permission. Are you announcing the polls as they go live, or are they just in the chat?
As they go live, they will just already be in the chat right now. If the producers get in my ear, I'll let them know a new poll is up.
Gotcha.
However, at the very end, we will find out who everyone picks.
Got it. Let's talk biggest storylines for Week 5. Mike is going first.
Yeah,
Mike's
going to
go first.
We have to talk about the Ravens because
we
some
do.
fella by the name of Lamar Jackson, who he's been good in fantasy. I mean, that guy and in the NFL, he's been a good player. Pretty important, I would say.
I would say so,
he's
too.
not playing in this one, so it's going to have some implications. But
I felt like a
we don't
dad
expect
joke
it.
set up. I was waiting for a dad joke there because I felt like that's what you were doing.
That was sort of a dad joke. Just like, he's good, right?
He's good, right?
Yeah,
We've heard of this guy named
we've
Lamar
heard.
Jackson.
Yeah, it wasn't my best effort, but we went with it. He's likely out. Cooper Rush will step in as the replacement there. I think someone's going to talk about Derrick Henry here, right? So I'll leave that go. We'll just focus on the passing game here. I look back at last year. Cooper Rush subbed in for Dak Prescott in Dallas. In those 7 full games that he played, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His efficiency, like completion rate, 62%. YPA was a little below average. But 233 passing yards per game is a pretty solid number. At least 1 passing touchdown in all of those games. CeeDee Lamb was wide receiver 14 those weeks, which is not the level we want from him, but not bad. I mean, he's at least hanging on to good fantasy starter. This is a tough matchup. Houston, second fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. They've been not as dominant, but still pretty good against wide receivers as well, and tight ends. So, obviously we're not starting Cooper Rush. Again, we'll get to Henry. Zay Flowers, 8 or more targets and exactly 7 catches in 3 of 4 games this season. We're not maybe as confident in him, although I will say this: Cooper Rush is not going to run at all.
Yeah,
so that could be
opportunity.
That could mean 5 more pass attempts, maybe target opportunities for someone like Zay Flowers. So I'm going to start him. I moved him down. He's wide receiver 20, but I'm still going to start him. Mark Andrews, a little trickier. He's been kind of all over the map. You're hoping for a touchdown, but he does have 13 catches, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 14 targets over the last 2 weeks, 20% plus target share in both of those games. So trending in the right direction, even with Isaiah likely back last week. So Andrews, fringe starter. Zay Flowers, still a lineup block, even with the downgrade. Cooper Rush, we're not starting. No one else we're starting. Rashad Bateman, borderline guys, not this week.
So we should just take it right from there to Derrick Henry and just knock that out while we're on the conversation. So the question to me, the key point for Week 5 is, can Derrick Henry get back to his usual self? I thought about bringing some numbers, and I did. Henry is averaging 12.5 fantasy points per game going into Week 5. He's RB22 on the season. The Texans have been 13th in terms of defending opposing running backs this season and fantasy points allowed. So middle of the pack-ish, not super dominant, but definitely not bad either. And Derrick Henry's highest percentage of snaps in a game this season is 58%. On top of that, Mike just mentioned there's no Lamar Jackson. It could mean more passing attempts. It also might mean more rushing attempts for Derrick Henry. if the team can keep things competitive. Given how much the Texans offense has struggled, maybe they will find a way to keep things competitive here. But putting the numbers aside, there are certain players where you just say to yourself, like, who cares about the matchup, the numbers, the metrics, all this? Like, he's Derrick bleeping Henry. Like, can he just get it going? Because even if Derrick Henry plays against the 85 Bears, like, he can rush 17 times for 200 yards and a touchdown. So a lot of different ways that you can slice this, but will Derrick Henry look like his usual self? Can he rumble, stumble, and bumble his way to over 100 yards and a touchdown? He is RB 15 for me going into this week. Lower than where you were used to seeing him, at least early on in the season, but still a guy that I will have in my lineups this week.
Yeah, Houston has allowed the third lowest EPA against the pass, right? So they've been very good against the pass, but the seventh highest against the run. So you look at that as, from a Baltimore's perspective, you think, all right, no Lamar Jackson, we have Derrick Henry. Look at this matchup. We're going to run the ball as much as as humanly possible.
Keep the ball out of Cooper Rush's hands.
As long as it's competitive, they're going to run as much as they can. But of course, Houston knows that, so they're going to try to adjust to that. But again, Henry should be very busy, certainly in the first half.
Yeah, you would think so, as long as this game stays competitive. But that flips to the other part of the first point that I wanted to get to today, which is, can the Texans passing offense make hay against this Ravens defense? Did you guys see that the Ravens could be without 7 defensive starters this upcoming weekend?
That is brutal.
The names that includes, by the way, are Nnamdi Madubuike, who's definitely out. He's their best defensive lineman. It's not close in the middle of that defense. Kyle Hamilton, their best player, not named Lamar Jackson, I would argue on the roster, all-pro safety. He sounds like he is not going to be able to play on Sunday. Marlon Humphrey, not going to be able to give it a go. Nate Wiggins, their top 2 out of their top 3 corners. Their top two corners, not going to be able to give it a go. Yeah. Roquan Smith, unlikely to be able to give it a go.
Man.
Kyle Van Noy, unlikely to be able to give it a go. Anybody else that I'm forgetting?
Roderick Washington.
Yes, Roderick
Keep
Washington,
in mind that
another
Jair
defensive
Alexander
tackle.
hasn't been up to speed yet. He's not ready to play. He's been a healthy scratch. So
man, it's a banged
Ardarius
Ravens
Washington
defense.
they lost in the offseason. I mean, in the preseason. So.
Yeah, so it's a very, very, very depleted Ravens defense. And we know the Texans offense hasn't been great, but they maybe found some things last week. And I think Woody Marks, we've already discussed him this week, right outside our top 20, but there is a case for Woody Marks in your lineups. We'll see whether he plays about the same role that he played last week, maybe a few more snaps, maybe a few fewer snaps. That being said, right on that borderline for top 20. But it's just a week that CJ Stroud has one of those like rookie season CJ Stroud games. Nico Collins go off against this Ravens defense, excuse me. There's really not anybody besides Nico in the pass catching group that you are comfortably or confidently starting right now. But maybe this performance after last week's performance can help build a little bit more consistency and momentum for an offense that, coming out of week 3 when the Texans were 0-3, felt like one of the shakiest in the entire NFL.
Yeah. I mean, look, we saw the injury-plagued 49ers rally last night and pull off a win. Maybe the Ravens do it here. I mean, it is Baltimore's at least at home. That helps a little bit, but this is an opportunity.
I'm not counting anything out.
To go into Baltimore. I mean, this is a game we would have said, all right, that's an L for Houston. Yep. Everyone would have assumed it's an L. Maybe not. They have an opportunity. They only have 1 win. So much like Baltimore, they need it.
I believe, and you guys can cross-check this when you had your computers ready, I think Nico's all the way up at like wide receiver 3 for this week in our consensus rank.
I have him at 2, but 2, 3, right in that range.
And Puka obviously has been removed.
With him out, Yep.
Yeah. So Nico, the stars are at least aligned for a potential big day for Nico Collins. Of course, no other Texans wide receiver is a sure thing to have a big role except for Xavier Hutchinson, who will find his way into the end zone.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
That's my long
That's a long shot,
Yep.
I was actually really hoping that Christian Kirk, I was hoping eventually that in this offense, I'll say this and move on. With how bad we thought the offensive line was going to be, they have been about as bad as advertised. Yeah. And I thought maybe Christian Kirk as like a slot guy, closer to the yard of scrimmage, like maybe he can just be like a nice safety blanket for CJ Stroud. Yeah. That has not happened so far this year.
He was hurt, right? Just came back a couple games. So
the Baltimore Ravens have allowed 5 touchdowns in the slot so far this year, most in the NFL. So maybe there is a Christian Kirk situation here. All right. I'm going to give you guys a quick Week 5 injury report. A couple injuries to monitor just to make sure. There are a handful. Please jump in and stop me if there's something you guys want to talk about. Otherwise, I'm going to rip through a bunch of stuff for our people here. We're going to start with Bucky Irving in the running back spot. Did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. He has actually been pulled out of our rankings for right now. Rachaad White put in his spot. He is currently a low-end RB2. Consensus has him as running back 22 against the Seahawks this week. You should plan on not having Bucky Irving, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll stop you there. Tough matchup against Seattle for sure. 3.3 yards per carry allowed to running back so far this season. That's fourth lowest. Also 0 rushing touchdowns allowed. However, this should be a ton of work for Rachaad White. Remember, 2 years ago, 299 carries and 69 catches at 10 touchdowns. Also, in a lesser role last year, still had 53 catches and 9 touchdowns. He's going to be the lead back with Sean Tucker as the 2. So I still feel good about him as a starter, even with the tough matchup in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to largely back down, but Jeremy Fowler reported just minutes before we got on the show that Bucky is not going to play this weekend, and there's question about whether he'll play next Sunday against San Francisco.
All right, as we know, Mike Evans ruled out with a hamstring injury. Chris Godwin, just to make sure that everyone knows, coming off of last week, he looked good. Yeah, he was full practice both days. Right now, ESPN wide receiver 21 for us. Brock Bowers, unfortunately, downgraded at practice this week. Went from limited practice on Wednesday to not practicing on Thursday. He is currently our tight end 3, but that's something to continue to monitor because if he doesn't go, you're going to want to make sure you have another tight end in your roster to be able to put in his place.
At 10:21 a.m., I don't feel like it makes me a little bit uneasy. I'd probably be adding an insurance plan already just in case, but I hope by like 3:30 this afternoon, Brock's back on the
back on the practice field, yeah. Friday practice report will be big for a lot of these guys. Guy it will not be big for, unfortunately, Terry McLaurin has been ruled out, as has Noah Brown again. So it looks like this is going to be the Deebo Samuel show.
If he
Deebo did not practice. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. You're so good at this injury stuff. Deebo did not practice either Wednesday or Thursday. He is traveling with the team. So there is a question like, is this just extra rest because they already know they're going to be without those guys? This Friday practice is going to be really big for Deebo as well.
Seems that way.
It's probably important as well, just in case, that you have a backup for Deebo, just knowing that he hasn't practiced the first 2 games, just not someone in that 9:30 game. A reminder, there is another 9:30 a.m. Eastern time game this week. Yep. Chuba Hubbard did not practice Wednesday and Thursday, is not going to go this week, it does not sound like, which means Rico Dowdle, Mike, is going to be the next man up. What are we thinking about Rico Dowdle against the Dolphins?
So I just put this projection update through right before the show started because I was like on the fence, is he going to practice today or not? But he's ruled out. So Rico Dowdle is in position for a big role. They are playing the Dolphins. They've been bad they're bad defensively across the board, but that includes the run. Rico Dowdle, remember in Dallas last year, was over 1,000 yards. He was a solid player for them. He should be the clear feature back because, remember, there's no Jonathan Brooks there. So it's Rico Dowdle and it's Trevor Etienne, the rookie, baby. And he'll get some run. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 8 touches or so in this game. But it's going to be the Dowdle show, and he could very well have 17 or 18 carries and 3 or 4 targets in this game.
Agreed.
And that's RB2 numbers. So he projected out pretty high, 14 points. I have him at 18. I could go a little higher, but he's very much in that cluster of RB2s. And if he's out there on waivers, scoop him up now while you can and start him.
Would you rather start Rico Dowdle as a backup running back this week or Rachaad White, who was also going to get the start?
I'm going to go. It's a toss-up. I do have White just ahead, but the matchup is definitely in favor of Dowdle.
Right. It's like you could totally see Rachaad White rushing 11 times for 28 yards, but snagging 7 catches for 60 yards.
Wait, is that Christian McCaffrey or is that Rachaad White?
Rachaad White.
That sounds like a CMC line.
CMC light last season. 2 seasons ago, excuse me. Yeah.
All right, a couple more players here. Calvin Ridley did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. The good news is he was on the sideline working out in uniform, so this Friday practice is going to be important. I doubt you want to start Calvin Ridley. You haven't really wanted to so far to start the season. He's wide receiver 31 against Arizona. If he doesn't go, Alec Iomanner would be the wide receiver 1 in this offense that you could look at.
DK, maybe we'll see Lamar DK.
That's right.
He's been a playmaker.
I think the question I have here is, I'm with you. I'd prefer not to start Calvin Ridley right now, but if he doesn't play, I'll be curious. Does that mean, like, are we getting 12 targets for Alec Iomanner?
Yeah.
He's already had a really solid target share to start the season, or is it, hey, Calvin Ridley is out. It has no clear and obvious impact on Alec Iomanner. It just means that somebody else steps into the Calvin Ridley snaps.
Of course, though, Ridley finally like a decent matchup because, a big part of his problem so far has been, rookie quarterback, figuring that out. But, like, he's been shadowed a lot. He's been dealing with some serious one-on-one coverage with some of the best corners in the NFL. He finally draws an injury-plagued Arizona secondary, a chance maybe to get going, and he's beat up. So we'll see.
The Arizona Cardinals have given up at least 12 fantasy points to 5 different wide receivers. So if there is no Calvin Ridley, then maybe Alec Iomanner is sort of a flex option for you if you need it. Another one, Michael Pittman Jr. was limited on Thursday.
New ad.
Yeah, was not on the practice report on Wednesday, and then it ended up being limited on Thursday with a hamstring injury. You never like the midweek downgrade, so that's something to continue to monitor. Friday practice is going to be important. However, they are playing the Raiders this week, another really good matchup who have given the 4th most fantasy points to wide receivers. So if Pittman goes, he'll be like a top 20-ish guy. Yep. If he doesn't, is there another pass catcher? Is there another wide receiver? Because I think Tyler Warren is already a must-start for us right now. Another wide receiver you'd want to start?
I think you can pick from any of the 3, honestly, because Alec Pierce we expect back from the concussion. He'll be an option. Josh Downs should see a little boost. He's been underwhelming. And A.D. Mitchell, if that guy steps across the out-of-bounds line onto the field, he's probably getting targeted. That's just the way it works. He doesn't play a lot, but when he does, he gets targeted a lot. I know he had that huge mistake last week, but he is a guy that is a playmaker for sure. So I think any of those 3 are fine flex lottery tickets if you're in a tough spot.
Love that. That's our big injury report heading into week 5. There's a lot of guys there. Hopefully, if you have a few of them, you can be able to make a couple of plans here for your lineup.
All right. And my next big takeaway or my next big preview point for week 5 is if you are somebody that has been starting Brock Purdy, you obviously already been doing this dance, or Lamar Jackson, you could be in this situation right now. Maybe you have Jordan Love as your starting quarterback, or even Caleb Williams, your starting quarterback. You are looking for a backup, a streaming option. Is Bryce Young the best option available for you this weekend? Bryce Young, of course, plays against a very leaky Dolphins defense.
Yep.
How about this? The Dolphins have allowed 26.5 points per game to opposing quarterbacks this season. Second worst in the NFL, behind only, can you guys guess?
Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys, who Bryce Young, by the way, plays next Sunday. So this could be a 2-week stay in your lineup for Bryce Young.
Opportunity.
If he can pay off. I said this on the show a couple of days ago. Bryce maybe has the most important 2-week stretch of his career coming up, because if he can build confidence, like the numbers suggest he should be able to build confidence over the next 2 weeks, not only will the Panthers be better off for it, but Bryce could sort of cement that he is the kind of guy that you can build a franchise around. The question I think people are wondering for fantasy is, okay, it's a great matchup, but how much upside is there for Bryce Young as a player? The guys the Cowboys have faced, Jordan Love, very good quarterback, and Justin Fields, an excellent fantasy quarterback. Dak Prescott.
But this week, you're talking about who he's playing this week.
Oh, for the Dolphins. The Dolphins. I'm already thinking ahead to next
Daniel
week.
Jones,
Dolphins,
Drake May, Josh Allen, Justin Fields. So they're guys that have been QB1s, which he is not.
Exactly. So I looked at Bryce's career. He does in his, basically 2 full seasons playing, because he missed time last year after he was benched. He has 6 top 10 finishes. Each of those games, he finished, no surprise, with 20 or more fantasy points. With Bryce, he's one of those players who doesn't run much but can run, right? Yeah. Back in week 1, he had a big game when he was rushing a lot, sort of by accident or due to scrambles. He has just 13 rushing yards over the last 3 games. So do I think there's a 20-point possibility here from Bryce Young? Yes, I do. It's less certain than the 4 guys that the Dolphins have faced so far, because each of those 4, on top of, I think, being better / more accomplished quarterbacks than Bryce Young, I think each of them clearly is a better runner than Bryce Young, right? We talked about Josh Allen, duh. Justin Fields, duh. Drake May, duh. And Daniel Jones, also duh. So he is right around, I think he's quarterback 12 for me after going into the week. I don't think neither one of the starting quarterbacks last night was ranked ahead of quarterback 12. And that might be quarterback 11 now with Lamar removed. But the point is, he's not quite in the top 10, but he's darn close.
Yeah, I would want to avoid if possible. I mean, he's been under 12 fantasy points in 3 of 4 games. Yeah. And his one big game was 21 points against Arizona. I mean, I don't know.
That's what you're hoping
much
for
of a
here.
Ceiling, under 160 passing yards in 3 of his 4 games. I just don't know if it's there for me. I mean, you're right. If you're in a tough spot and you need to stream him, you have worse options. It is a great matchup, but I feel like he's one of them guys. A great matchup gets him from QB 25 to 15, or in this case with guys at 12, whatever it may be. I'm at 14.
Yeah,
but that's probably it. I don't know if I'd go much.
The available quarterbacks this week, there's not a lot of other superior.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I hear you.
I think he's one of the potential starts of the week, Mike. If we want to jump into the YouTube chat, we could vote for Field to have to start Bryce Young.
Okay, you guys can do that. Yeah. Anyways, so Bryce has, on paper, it's a really good opportunity, not just this week, but next. The question, I think, becomes how much upside is there, which Mike also questions himself.
Hold on, I'm doing a write-in vote. Dylan Gabriel.
Who you got, Mike?
Next up for me.
What do you got, I should say?
All right, I have a list of receivers for you guys. You're going to tell me, are they back a little bit, or are they all the way back? So back or all the way back. How you feel about, potentially firing these guys up for your fantasy lineup. We'll start with Jordan Addison. 96% of the snaps last week, 9 targets, 114 yards. Guys, he has at least 8 targets in 8 of his last 10 games going back to last year. 16.3 fantasy points per game during that span. Most of that was with Sam Darnold, of course. However, say what you want about Carson Wentz. 350 passing yards last week, has 2 passing touchdowns in both starts so far this season. Cleveland kind of mid-pack against wide receivers. So what do you think, back or all the way back?
I would say back.
I agree.
Because a lot of that yardage last week came on one gigantic play, which maybe that was the sign that he had been out for 3 games. He was running into daylight with no one around him, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he gets tackled by a Steelers defensive back at like the 4-yard line. So I'm going to go back. Not all the way back, but back.
I think he's back as well, and I will say whatever I want about Carson Wentz. He's been fine. He's been only fine so far. I think if we had a better quarterback situation, I would feel better about Jordan Addison. That's a big part of why he's only back for me, not all the way back.
But I guess the point there is like some quarterbacks, you're like, we're not, we have no chance to win the Super Bowl or make the playoffs with this guy. But we also might be like, that's true for that team. However, he can get the ball in the hands of his playmakers, and that's what we care about.
We see another 300-yard game here. I might feel different about Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I'll go back. Yep.
All right, I agree. Next up, Xavier Worthy, week 4, only 59% of the snaps, guys, so probably limited a bit. However, 2 carries and 8 targets. He led the Chiefs not only in receiving, but also rushing in that game, which says something about their rushing game, too. That's a topic for another day. But you look at his last 7 full outings, and keep in mind this was without Rashee Rice as well last year, so he was the number 1 as he is now. 8.3 touches, 93.7 yards, and 20.9 fantasy points per game.
That includes like the Super Bowl and stuff.
That includes the playoffs. That includes the playoffs as well, which I think should count. Those are the toughest games you're going to play as well. So he's been impressive even in those situations. The Jags' pass defense has been terrific. So tougher matchup, we'll say. But what do you think? Back or all the way back? Any reservations, I guess, is the better question.
I'm going all the way back.
That's what I was just going to say. After last week, I felt very trepidatious coming into last week. I wanted to see it on the field.
Yeah.
After what I saw on the field, I feel very confident if I have Xavier Worthy. If I could get out of the Xavier Worthy business and someone really wanted him, then I would consider the move. But I'm not going to sell short just because he's coming back from an injury. I thought he looked really good, so I would go all the way back as well.
Keep in mind some of the data that Stefania shared via the predictors last Sunday on FF Now that usually in week one you see a 10 to 13% dip in production. So if Worthy has room to grow as soon as this week, that's a good sign. And that if you get to week 4 with the shoulder thing, you're probably out of the woods for the most part. Of course, anything could happen to any player at any time, but by week 4, you start to feel really good about that player's chances of staying on the field for the rest of the season.
Yeah, remember, Patrick Mahomes, after not being great in fantasy most of last year, really picked up steam the final month or so. You wonder when he has Worthy and Rashee Rice, what that offense might look like. There's still a lot of hope for them to be very productive.
Yep.
So keep an eye
all the way back
that.
for me. Yep. Top 20 for me. Top 15.
I agree. I'm at 11, so 15, I'm in.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, next up on the list, we got 2 more. Chris Godwin. Okay, Chris Godwin comes back. We mentioned him briefly before. Only 26 yards on 3 catches, so not great. However, he played 81% of the snaps and had 10 targets in that game. Guys, last year when he was the number 2 scoring fantasy receiver, he only had 1 game with 10 targets. So a high volume game for him. They're playing Seattle again on the road. This is the Seahawks have led the 2nd fewest yards and 3rd fewest fantasy points to receivers. They've been really good, and that's with Devin Witherspoon injured. I mean, they've been struggling there. They might trade Reek Woolen. I mean, that's not the best set of circumstances, but they're still slowing wide receivers with that Mike McDonald scheme defense. Yeah. So
he's the most
Chris
missed
Godwin
man in all of Baltimore, Mike McDonald.
Yeah, they could use him right now to coach up that group for sure. So Chris Godwin, back or all the way back?
I want to ask you, when you say context, last time we saw Chris Godwin, he was wide receiver 2 in fantasy football. Yeah. I don't think he's back to that. I don't think he's all the way back there. So when you say all the way back, what does all the way back mean? He's healthy?
Should be in lineups top 25-ish wide receiver.
I think Chris Godwin's all the way back then.
Yeah, he's close to me. He's right there on the borderline for me. The 2 downgrades Mike alluded to. One of them is just the matchup, right? The Seahawks is no joke. They are no joke defensively. A little bit of rust last week, which stands to reason, right? 3 out of those 10 targets were caught. Did not look quite like his usual Chris Godwin self. which is zero surprise whatsoever. I think a week or two from now, we will be talking about Chris Godwin being all the way back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like I have him at 23 this week. Again, it's a tough matchup, but I feel like if he was 100%, and especially with Mike Evans out, we'd be like, he's fourth in our rankings this week. So he's not there yet. So that kind of leads to your that's kind of the answer to your question.
Right.
I would say not all the way back.
So you would say back, not all the way back.
So
this week
he is a lineup lock though.
We've got DK and DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and Drake London. Like there's a bunch of guys that I feel like maybe pushes Chris Godwin into I might be starting him this week.
Yeah, I would definitely start him in 12-team leagues and probably in 10-team leagues.
All right, next one, Mike.
Last one here is Stephon Diggs. He's going revenge game, fellas. He's going to Buffalo. Revenge game here for Diggs. Weeks 1 through 3. I want to give you a quick comp here to show why I have some optimism here.
Yep.
Weeks 1 through 3, 54% of the snaps, 14% of the targets, had 112 yards on 15 targets. Last week, up to 63% of the snaps, 41% of the targets, and had 6 catches for 101 yards and 7 targets. He had almost as many yards in this game as he had in the first 3 combined. Obviously, he was on the field more. He's 37th in fantasy points right now at wide receiver, despite being 72nd in routes and having 0 end zone targets. So the reason I lay that out is because he hasn't really played a lot yet, and he's still top 40. So what does it mean when he actually is a full-time player? And we're starting to see that, or we started to see that last week. The Bills, by the way, have allowed 5 touchdowns to receivers already, 6th most in the NFL. So I'm feeling very optimistic. I feel like this is what we needed for Diggs, and now he's back into that lineup lock situation.
Okay, already back. So all the way back for you.
I think I have him 25th, so I think that's where he'll probably hang. I thought that was probably, his ceiling could be a little higher, but I would say all the way back, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go close to all the way back, but just back for right now.
I just want to say that the committee doesn't agree with you saying that Chris Godwin at 23 is only back, but at 25, Stephon Diggs is all the way back.
I think Godwin's ceiling is higher at his age and what we've seen from him.
I have a problem with the premise of your game.
Okay.
I think that's what
I need to break this up.
I think maybe we might have some words.
To get some social distancing between you two.
No, I agreed with you on Godwin.
But you have a guy ranked higher. But I mean, maybe, again, we're talking semantics here. So
we are. It's a subjective game.
I think Stephon Diggs, we even saw this the first week that he came back. He had only like 11 routes run, and they threw him the ball 6 times. It's clear that when he's on the field, and I think that's part of what you're saying, when he's on the field, he is their number one guy without question. It's just, can we get him on the field a little bit more?
Well, and that's happening now.
It's been ramping up.
Patience is a virtue. I think both these guys will end up being really solid values based off where you got them during draft season. Diggs is getting there for sure. The Patriots offense is trending up for sure as well. Drake May looks every bit the part of like this really solid next NFL this really solid part of this next wave of NFL quarterbacks. It's a gigantic matchup on Sunday night. This is probably more of a real football conversation than a fantasy conversation. It reminds me of what I said about Bryce Young, but the Patriots came into this year as sort of this trendy, they can make the playoffs team. If they win Sunday night in Buffalo, giddy up. They play the Saints the following week. If they lose, I think it's like we're not quite ready for prime time yet, Patriots.
Yeah, it's a big spot. Yeah, it's a good measuring stick for where they are in that division. So.
Man, the Bills are wearing their what do they call, the rivalry uniforms this weekend. Have you guys seen them?
I mean,
I still don't understand when we call them rivalry. Do they have a rivalry against the thing that their uniform is?
Right. So I think it would have made a little bit more sense if they played rivalry uniform games in which like it was whatever. Steelers and Ravens put them on. Packers and Bears put them on.
That makes sense.
Awesome, right? I think the Bills and Patriots have a rivalry. I just don't get why the Patriots aren't wearing them this weekend too.
So like when the Cardinals wore them
against the Seahawks,
do they have? That's because they have a rivalry with the Seahawks, not a rivalry against the sand that was their uniform.
No.
Yeah,
I actually kind of like the. Go ahead.
Which one?
I like
Dolphins.
Dolphins. I liked, and I actually liked the Bills this weekend too.
I haven't seen them, so I'm just gonna let it happen.
We should take a moment to acknowledge that there is on the short list of the best possible uniform matchups that you will find. Did you guys see the Bucks and the Seahawks are wearing their 50 years ago throwbacks this weekend?
No,
I can't wait.
We're getting a creamsicle and
not creamsicle. They're going all white because they're the home team has preference of color. Yes, even the all white Buccaneers throwbacks are awesome. So
they should have stuck with those uniforms. I miss those.
I want the NFL to just go back to all the throwbacks. There are very few teams, I guess, like the Packers and the Chiefs and the Raiders don't really have throwbacks. The Cowboys as well, but There are very few teams whose jerseys are better now compared to where they were like 30 years ago.
I would agree with that. Although I do love being able to have the color rush. Some of the color rush jerseys are now. Anyways, let's talk about some football. I got one more takeaway here, and then we'll dive into a few more things.
Okay, go.
We were just talking about Patriots wide receivers, other side of that football game. Let's talk about Bills pass catchers right now, because we've been waiting to see, has someone really established themselves as like the number one pass catcher for Josh Allen in this offense?
Negative?
No, they haven't. Nope. I think they're all streaming bye-week options is the way that I would kind of look at everybody here. Dalton Kincaid, tight end 7 in fantasy points per game. When you look at where he's at amongst tight ends, he feels better than what his actual like on the field eye test really tells you.
Yeah.
He hasn't topped 6 targets so far this year. He is a touchdown dependent tight end right now. And he has been a touchdown guy. He has 3 of them so far to start the season. So without those touchdowns, he probably wouldn't be up there in the top 10, but he is a streaming option if you need someone at tight end this week. And then I think the 2 wide receivers are the epitome of what you talk about, where Khalil Shakir is a floor play and Keon Coleman is like that boom bust play. Khalil Shakir, 12.5 fantasy points in 3 of his 4 games, 9 targets in week 1, but he had 5 or fewer in the other 3 games. Yeah. I would have thought that there was more target share for Khalil Shakir with the way they utilized him last year as kind of a safety blanket, but he's been kind of the safe play. And then Keon Coleman had that huge week 1, 25 fantasy points. We all remember he had like 11 targets, 8 catches, over 100 yards. It was great. Exactly 3 catches in the next 3 games in each one of them. So he has been under 8 fantasy points in all 3.
Yep.
If you need to utilize any of them, I think they're just streaming options this week, and you're kind of asking yourself, what do I need? Am I looking for just floor? Give me 10 to 12 fantasy points. I think that's your Khalil Shakir play. If you need more than that, then Keon Coleman is your dart throw. And it kind of feels like this is just going to be the Bills for the rest of the season. After the first month, we just haven't seen anybody really materialize as the number one pass catcher here.
Over under any Bill getting 6 targets in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, you're lucky to get to 6. They all are 5 or fewer basically every game so far this season, including Kincaid. The only silver lining for him is his goal line work is up from past years. I don't know if that's going to sustain though, because it didn't happen. It didn't the first 2 years in the NFL. So, and by the way, to your point on Shakir, his floor is not near where it was last year. His target share is down from 23% to 16%. It's terrible. So they're just spreading the ball around, and I think they go into weeks like, all right, we're going to get Elijah Moore going this week. Last week, Curtis Samuel was involved and was kind of up there in terms of usage. They'll throw it to Tyrell Shavers. They'll get Jackson Hawes played a big role. Last week, Dalton Kincaid only played a third of the snaps. They had Jackson Hawes playing the fifth round rookie. Fifth round, I think.
Fifth round rookie from Georgia Tech via Yale.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Yale. Okay.
That's not a normal path, is it?
It is usually not. It's pretty unconventional.
Nope. Yeah.
And the thing with the Bills is this falls into that category of, can you blame them? They're 4-0. They look like the best team in the NFL
right
now.
From their perspective, do whatever you want. They know how to win games. Sean McDermott's terrific as well. Another one of them difference-making coaches. But from a fantasy perspective, the anti-Rams.
Yeah.
We hate it.
Yep, we sure do.
Except for James Cook.
James. Yeah, those guys are good.
I like those 2 guys.
Yep.
If you guys could just clip the beginning of that sentence and put it out on social where Mike says we just hate all the Bills, forget the Josh Allen and James Cook love at the end.
Bills fans are totally normal.
Yes, they wouldn't come after you at all for no reason whatsoever.
I love Bills Mafia.
Anyone else you want to talk about? Any other big takeaways here in Week 5?
For me, my last big preview point for Week 5, we talked about that Bucs-Seahawks game already a couple of times. My question is, does Kenneth Walker III continue to take control of the Seahawks backfield? Last week when they played Arizona on Thursday night, KW3 had 20 touches. Zach Charbonnet had 14. So that wasn't a total domination by Kenneth Walker III. And neither one of these guys has been super involved in the passing game. Charbonnet has just 2 catches for 5 yards all season. Walker has 3 times that many catches, 6, but really both of these guys have been utilized almost exclusively as rushers. And here's the point that I wanted to bring up with Kenneth Walker III in terms of efficiency. He is at 0.85 PPR points per touch this season. Again, mostly as a rusher. That's 0.26 points better per touch than Zach Charbonnet. Like a good total for Kenneth Walker III, a bad number for Zach Charbonnet. So he has been a far more efficient player. I get it. And it's been talked about. It's like the most popular talking point when we discuss the Seahawks running backs. There's might be 3 good things from Kenneth Walker III, and then he'll take a run where there was an obvious hole for 5 yards, try to bounce it outside and lose 3 yards instead, and that drives the coach up a wall, right?
Zach, get in there.
Yeah, Zach, exactly right. Zach Charbonnet is kind of like do the steady stuff. I just think that Kenneth Walker III is like a markedly better player.
Yeah.
And in a game that could be decently high scoring, even with Seattle's great defense, the Bucs are no joke offensively, even with their injuries. Maybe they have to get more explosive plays out of Kenneth Walker III. I would like for this tide to continue to shift in the direction of KW3.
Do you think that's really frustrating for coaches where it's just like, man, this guy is clearly, you look at the eye test, like this guy's clearly got more juice. He's more explosive. He's the better like on-field running back.
Maybe.
But then it's like,
I mean, I'm sure it is. It definitely is frustrating, but I spent a decent enough time around like running back coaches in my time in the NFL. And the common thread amongst all of them is they just like the guys that know what to do, where to be, and how to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think people know Field was in the NFL. He was a left tackle. People don't know that.
People don't realize,
Clearly a left tackle.
You slim down a lot, as a lot of left tackles do once they come out of
Correct.
it.
The Mark Schlereth plan post my playing career.
Exactly.
Just wanted to make an observation. It doesn't seem like it, but Walker has either 110 yards or 2 touchdowns in 3 straight games now. So he had the bad week 1, but regardless of this debate about playing time and what's going to happen with Charbonnet and distribution, he still is delivering 3 weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
So.
My sense is that this will continue to grow in the favor of Kenneth Walker III.
Agreed.
I don't know that it'll ever get to the point that I think all of us feel it should. But after a very disappointing start in week 1 and some concerning snap counts for Walker in weeks 1 and 2, it at least is moving in the right direction.
You may have said this already. For some reason, my brain is thinking, Mike, that you said it earlier, whether it was this week or in previous weeks. Okay. But is part of this just the idea that we've seen Ken Walker III have a difficult time staying fully healthy so far to start his NFL career? And this is part of the devil you dance with when it's like, you know what, we'd love to not bring him off the field, but also we do want to manage his touches season long because he's had problems with health.
Well, we're seeing a lot of that around the NFL, right? Like I was talking about Breece Hall yesterday, and Breece feels like he's playing a good amount and feels like he should be in line for even more work. But even this past Monday night, when Braylon Allen gets hurt early in the game, Breece Hall plays 63% of the snaps. So there are very few players that are on the Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey plan of 80+% of the snaps.
Yeah. Mike, do you have another takeaway, or is that it for you?
Did I do all? Oh, I did one more. I have one more in here. It is our friend Evan Engram. So let's talk about if we feel like there's reason for optimism after last week.
Do we have to even talk about it?
Yeah, it was a rough start to the season. Obviously, he was injured as well. Only played 44% of the snaps last week, but season high in route participation, 59%. That's a pretty decent number. He had 7 targets and 4 catches in that game. He did only have 29 yards. He's been under 30 in all 3 games so far. The Eagles have been very good against tight ends so far. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, this is a guy, and I know you were high on him, and I don't mean that as like an insult. I'm sure you have him on some teams. So I'm wondering, like, you have him probably on the end of some rosters right now. He did see that boost in usage now, again, back to full health, played a lot more. This is a good offense, played very well last week. Are you feeling like I might get my tight end 1 back here? Where are you at? Where's your head at?
I don't have Evan Engram on most of the rosters that I drafted.
So you already cut him loose.
I've already, because of where the tight end position was at, I've either grabbed a Jake Ferguson or a Tucker Kraft or Tyler Warren even was available in a few of like the shallower leagues that I've been in. So I have completely gone away from Evan Engram. I think I have him on 1 roster still, and that's just because I have an expanded bench, not the normal bench size.
I think there's at least hope, I think, now. I feel a little better. It's not like he came back and was clearly buried behind Adam Troutman again. They actually gave him some run in when they were throwing the football. So I think there's some hope here. We're not all the way back. We're not back or all the way back. We're not even, I wouldn't even say we're all the way, we're back yet. We're getting there, though. Like a push in the right direction last week. So maybe there's hope here.
He's rostered in 52% of leagues right now. So obviously, very just available.
Monitor. You know, if he's on waivers, put him on your watch list to see what happens this week. Situation to monitor.
We're doing starts of the week here in just a moment, but when you said a lot of the rosters that Evan Engram was on your team to begin the season, he's no longer on your team. I presume some of that's via drop. Some of that might just be benching him. Maybe some trades. Have you guys had any cool trades so far in redraft leagues this season?
Yeah, I just had one. Go, you guys go.
Yeah,
I have not done any trades so far to start the season.
The only trade that I've made recently, it's our 16-team War Room League, so it's deep, obviously. I have Brock Purdy as my quarterback. A lot of people do carry 2 quarterbacks in that league. Yep. Like Caleb Williams is a backup to somebody. Stefania has Lamar, but she also had Daniel Jones off of waivers early in the season. So the options are pretty thin on the trade market. On the waiver wire. I ended up trading Trey Tucker for Bryce Young to a team who has sort of a confluence of factors. Like they have a good quarterback, but also have a lot of players in a bye this week, and
they just need bodies.
Need bodies, yeah. So we'll see. I mean, Bryce, I need him for the next 2 weeks potentially.
That's
not just
helpful
because
in
of the matchup, but because of Brock Purdy's health.
I almost feel like 16-team leagues lead to more trading like that because the waiver wire is so desolate.
So bad. It's just basically like, I know this wide receiver or quarterback isn't that great.
Right.
But they're like a usable piece,
correct,
potentially, versus what's available on the waiver wire.
16-team leagues, once you get to bye weeks.
And defenses are being added off the bye week, off the waiver wire.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sorry, by the way, about saying go out there and grab the Rams and start them against the 49ers last night. That was
tough.
The process seemed great there, but it was a swing and a miss.
Yeah, not great.
Mine is shout out to my friends in the Canada Life Insurance League. Shout out IBM as well. I got an offer yesterday, and my situation is I am 10-team league. I'm loaded with receiver options because I picked up like Quentin Johnson or I have whoever it may be. Anyway, I have my bench is just like all starting caliber receivers, and it's just a good situation to be in. However, I have Sam Laporta at tight end. He's been underwhelming a little bit, so I got offered Keenan Allen, who I believe in, and Trey McBride for Emeka Ibuka and Sam Laporta, and I took it.
Oof.
Yeah.
You know, that's just like a totally fair and even trade.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, I feel like I got in low on McBride, and he's going to be terrific and catch 90 to 100 balls.
Tight end upgrade and the receiver downgrade.
And Ibuka, I feel like I traded at his ceiling because when Mike Evans is healthy and obviously Chris Godwin's back now, it's just like I feel like he's going to come down a little bit from where we have him now, around where Keenan Allen is.
Emeka Ibuka's been amazing. I'm not trying to take anything. I am not trying to take anything away from him. I think he has 15 catches in 4 games.
Yeah, the volume is already a little concerning long term for the level he's at fantasy points wise, right? So that's my worry. My worry is
my number.
My worry, but your point stands.
4 catches.
And when you have a healthy Evans and Godwin, what happens to Ibuka? Is he going to be more boom bust? I think he's going to end up at that Keenan Allen level. So I'm thinking if I could get that huge boost at tight end for a similar receiver when I have so many other starting options, that feels like an easy trade to pounce on.
Cool.
Well, speaking of some starting options, why don't we dive into our starts of the week? Here's the question that I want to start with. Do we want to unveil Fields' team first? Or we do first and then let chat? First. Okay, all right. So, Mike, why don't you go first? You were the #1 team last week. I'll let you pick your team before I do.
Well, let's just do it again. We're going to start with Jackson Dart at quarterback against the Saints. Yeah, I think he can get the job done here.
That guy sounds like the real deal.
Heyo.
Real deal. Threw a touchdown
yesterday.
Yes, sir. Threw a touchdown last week, 54 yards, and a touchdown on the ground as well. Gets the Saints top 5, and with 9 passing touchdowns already allowed to opposing quarterbacks. All 4 quarterbacks they face have scored at least 16 points. So give me Jackson Dart. Rachaad White's my running back. Again, I talked about the tough matchup in Seattle, but I think the volume will be tremendous here.
Yep.
He may climb up inside the top 20 soon enough, too.
Yeah. You think so?
Maybe.
He is for me. He was outside for consensus.
He might get there,
Yeah, that's what I kind of do. Remember, like I'm trying
look
to
at
find
consensus.
guys I'm higher on than you guys. Wide receiver. I'm going to go Devontae Smith here. And again, sometimes I try to apply things we talked about on the show. I expect Pat Surtain to be on A.J. Brown in this game. That should open the door for Devontae Smith in this game against Riley Moss and Jaquan McMillan in the slot. So I think an opportunity for Smith to have a good game. Tight end, I'm going to go Brenton Strange on this.
Oh, I thought about that.
Not a guy I was super high on in the preseason, but he's trending up. 7 targets, 6 catches, and 10-plus fantasy points in 2 straight games. I talked about this earlier in the week. The Jags have trailed at the lowest rate in the NFL. They haven't had to throw the ball in the second half a lot, but in more competitive games, including this week against the Chiefs, there's an opportunity for him to see more targets. The Chiefs have been good against tight ends, but the competition's been light there, so not worried about that. So, go. Brenton Strange.
Love it. All right, Mike, I have got one crossover with you.
Okay.
And that is the real deal, Little Caesar start of the week, Jackson Dart.
Yeah, we're all in on this.
I feel like I got to be in on this guy in part because I just want free pizza. Not free pizza, 15% off on pizza on Monday. Yeah. So like I'm very in on Jackson Dart actually materializing the things we've talked about. However, against the Saints, feel really good about the situation. You laid out all the reasons why.
Okay.
For the running back spot, you took an Eagle, so I thought to myself, well, I obviously have to take a Detroit Lion.
No,
You took an Eagle, not at the running back spot, but in your lineup, you took an Eagle. His name is Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
My line is going to be David Montgomery. Last week was not a Monty week. This week is going to be a David Montgomery week.
Alrighty.
Taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals have allowed the 2nd most fantasy points to running back so far this year. Maybe a little bit of garbage time for David Montgomery in this one. Okay. At the wide receiver spot, I'm going to harken back to my CSS DFS days for all those that miss it and go with a little bit of a stack here.
Okay.
Jackson Dart with Wan'Dale Robinson, maximizing some upside here. So I'm going to do a stack, doubling up on fantasy points if Wan'Dale gets involved. Right now, we think he's going to be the wide receiver one of this offense, unfortunately, with Malik Neighbors out. So again, against the Saints, good matchup. We'll kind of see. I'm flirting with some danger here because if one of them tanks, I could be in a really bad spot.
Yeah, because this isn't like a DFS tournament where it's first or last. You want to not be last.
I want to not be last.
You're going first or last a little bit.
I like to put absolutely. I like to put my money where my mouth is. Right. So, and the last one that I have here is a tight end I talked about a little bit earlier on in the show, Dalton Kincaid.
Okay.
3 tight ends have hit at least 11 fantasy points against the New England Patriots so far this year.
Yep.
Maybe there's a chance that Dalton Kincaid finds the end zone again. So my starts of the week are Jackson Dart, David Montgomery, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Dalton Kincaid.
I feel like you said a lot of negative stuff about the Bills pass catcher, so that's a strange pick.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted to.
Strange
oh my gosh!
Comedy Hour starts early on Friday. All right. So
why don't
I'm
we?
I'm going to pull up the picks that I sent to Tyler a couple of days ago.
And I want to do this. We're going to throw up the polls. We're going to look at the polls as to who was available with where we're at. Who should field start at quarterback? Wow. Not even close. 59% said Jared Goff over Bryce Young, Jake Browning, and Geno Smith. I almost took Jared Goff, but I couldn't do the running back and the quarterback.
Okay. This is a pretty good lineup.
They did a good job for you here.
At the running back spot. Mike, who does he have at the running back spot?
The running back, Woody Marks.
Yep.
Okay, 60% over Amari DiMarcado and Chase Brown and Ramondre Stevenson. Who would have thought in week 5 we would have said, chat did me right by letting me start Woody Marks over Chase Brown. That's how bad it is.
They did you right on, I think, every single one of these.
The wide receiver position. Alec Iomanner, 43% over Malik Washington and Keon Coleman and Cooper Kupp. I like that call as well. Yeah. And at tight end, Zach Ertz, 40%, just barely narrowing out. Brenton Strange at 36%, Mark Andrews, and then Chigo Okonkwo were the other options. So
I think this is just a testament to the fact that our chat knows ball.
Yeah.
I actually do love I love the chat, just how engaged they are. So thank you to everybody who is a part of the community on a daily basis or even on a non-daily basis. But I love the passion of you guys. And in this case, I love your picks as well. I'm hopeful. I actually feel pretty good about this.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't love this.
I was hoping they would sabotage you for our sake. But
me too.
What this tells me is they like you more than us, which I don't like that.
I didn't need that in my life.
Can you blame them?
Yeah. I got to be honest.
No, I can't blame them, but I'm still unhappy about it, you know?
Listen, I think it's going to come down to one of two things, right?
Okay.
It's going to be either Jared Goff or David Montgomery, because when Montgomery scores 3 touchdowns on the ground, it's going to be really tough for you, Field. That's sort of my hope right now. Mm-hmm. So
if I win, maybe you should bring me your Jared Goff jersey that I can wear for a day.
Ooh, why not? Why not?
Would that be a punishment? That was a punishment previously.
It was.
Okay,
I might have a Zach Ertz Eagles jersey.
If I win and Daniel loses, Daniel has to wear a Jared Goff jersey.
A Jared Goff. There we go.
The greatest punishment you've ever received.
There'd be nothing wrong with that. I would be fine with how that works out.
You would be the happiest guy on campus.
There is a little bit of chatter that chat actually, was trying to. There were enough people in there trying to be able to give you bad picks, but the overall consensus, Field, is that you just look so pretty. People are like, we can't do that.
I have a question. Is there a potential where we just make this a weekly thing where chat votes for its own team and we play against chat?
That's a good idea.
I don't know how we reward chat, but we could almost get them involved in
or pick someone from the chat each week to make their own team. Might be the way to do it.
Ooh, yeah. One person to be tribute for the chat every single week. That'd be a fun thing to be able to figure out.
Find some way that you earn that opportunity. We'll have to brainstorm this.
Who can do the most push-ups while also commenting 30 times during the show?
That's it. Hey, shout out to our buddy Eric Moody as well, who's always hanging out in the YouTube chat with you guys. Love being able to have Eric in there. Do we have any time for questions today before we close out the show? Why don't we do a few questions from our mailbag?
Hey.
Like I said, over there on YouTube, our buddy Eric Moody. Follow him on social media at Eric N. Moody. The first question we have, this is from a guy. Someone in our chat wants to know. Full PPR. Travion Henderson, Rico Dowdle, or Chase Brown?
Just to be clear, that's from May K-O-K?
Yes.
K-O-K.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with that. And I don't see the question. I think one of those, we're eliminating Travion Henderson, right? So it's probably
Rico Dowdle or Chase Brown.
Or Rico Dowdle. I have it. I've been back to back. I'm going Dowdle here.
Yeah, Sam, I'm going Dowdle.
I as well would go Rico Dowdle.
Any pain in saying that or no?
No. With Chase Brown?
No, you got to set him free, right?
If you love it, let him go.
Just let him
That's
free.
Field. That is it. That's where I'm at right now.
Good question
with Chase
from
Brown.
me. Okay.
Yep. One more. We got another question here from our YouTube chat. By the way, thank you so much to you guys for hanging out with us every single day during the show. This one comes from
Slimes it. I don't know.
I don't know. No, keep going, Mike. Why don't you do this one?
Slimacito.
Daniel's canceled. If
There
he
you
says
go.
that.
All right. I have Omarion Hampton, Ashton Genty, Breece Hall, and Quinshad Judkins.
Ooh, wow,
Went
this is
heavy
a
on the
good
rookie
round.
running
Next
backs.
question. You don't need us.
Which three should I roll with this week? A little worried about the Raiders O-line versus the Colts. You can just replace Colts with every team the Raiders play. We're always worried about that.
I think
O-line.
Hampton and Breece are locks out of those three, out of those four.
And I have Judkins one. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's just a coin flip between Genty and Judkins. Yeah,
I have Judkins one spot ahead. So it sounds like he wants to bench Genty.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. That's how I have it ranked. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm okay with that as well. Way to go, that's a solid running back room. I'd love to know what the rest of the team looks like.
Yeah.
All right, one more question here from our chat. This one is going to come from our friend Xavier Xavion. Wants to know Tedero McMillan or George Pickens PPR. No CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens has been on fire right now.
Really hard to bench him right now. T-Mac has a good matchup as well against the Dolphins, but how do you bench George Pickens?
Yeah, well, Sauce Gardner on the other side's the tricky part, but I still have Pickens ranked higher.
I think it's been a slow start for Sauce this season.
Yeah, he hasn't been as dominant, but I mean,
no time like the present Gardner to get on track.
Yeah, remember the two guys he has shadowed so far were both similar perimeter number ones, and they had 12 points. I think it was Evans and Metcalf. They had 12 points and 13 points, so he did fine against him. So this is the third one. It's going to be George Pickens.
All right,
I would go with George Pickens in this one as well.
Yeah, me too. I'm still going with him, even if we
after all those things you said.
Even though
it's not like the Carolina passing game has been lighting it up. Bryce Young, bless you.
Bless
even
you.
in a tough matchup here.
Bless you again.
Oh yeah, you need like
he's
5, right?
He's a thunderous snore.
I don't mean to sneezer. Yeah, I don't mean to. Usually I'm a 4 or 5 sneeze person. Yeah. I'm glad it was only 2, so that was great. I want you to know that Mama Dopp texted me and said, I tried not to pick the best player for the record. I want to build Fields' character through losing. So I just want you to know my mom was actively rooting for you to not have good players.
Honestly, I respect that from her.
Yeah, this is how it works. This is why you hang out and chat right now, my friends. That's what it's all about. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Fantasy Focus presented by Little Caesars. Don't forget to love each other. Be kind to yourself. Come hang out with us on Fantasy Football Now, 10 a.m. And don't forget, Sunday, 9:30 a.m., there is another football game. Set your lineups accordingly.
Yeah, but don't watch the game.
No, don't watch the game. Just set your lineup and then come hang out with us on Fantasy Football Now.
See you then.
We'll see you guys there.